main fear would be, should the world end or society around them collapse, they're going to tell you that part of their fear is what men are going to do to them given the opportunity. And I think part of that is because women are walking around with the knowledge that what stops a lot of men from doing awful things to them is the idea that there might be a repercussion for them, for the man, if they were to be caught and found out, that society would know that they had done this thing, would judge them, that they would go to jail, like whatever. If you're a guy listening to this, I want you to think really carefully about some of the dudes that you know and what they would do to women and girls if they could guarantee that they would never be caught. There's a really poignant scene in The Walking Dead where one of the male characters says something like, if these guys find us, our men are going to be dead and our women are going to wish that they were. And as a former humanitarian aid worker, I was warned about this all the time. I was warned, like, if you go there and you are taken, they will kill the men, but what they will do to you is going to be so much worse. And also, as a humanitarian aid worker, I have been to countries and spoken to people who witnessed society collapse and the chaos around that because of like extreme weather events or natural phenomenon or even civil war. And the one thing that every one of those scenarios had was women and girls being raped and sexually assaulted. I went to Haiti in 2010 after the earthquake, and I also went to Pakistan after a flood happened in the same year. And in both countries, I spoke to women who were raped or sexually assaulted by men within the chaos, because men seized their opportunity to do something to these women and girls, knowing that it was highly unlikely, because it was chaotic, that they were going to be caught and held accountable for those actions. And the same thing happened when I went to Jordan a few years ago to speak to Syrian refugees. The women there told me of being raped and sexually assaulted when they were in Syria, when they were trying to escape the civil war, and also after they'd moved to Jordan and were living in refugee camps. Like, they were afraid to go to the toilet. They moved around in packs. Like, there was this knowledge in the back of their mind, like, there are men here who will seize the opportunity to do something to me because they don't feel like anything's going to happen to them as a result of doing that. Imagine being a man and only having to worry that the world might end or society might collapse, and not also having to worry about what the other gender will do to you if that happens. Like, some things are worse than death. And women are walking around with the knowledge that what keeps them safe is this tiny thread of a threat that men might pay the price if they do something like that. Once that's gone,
that is not me being hyperbolic.
that man is one of
Court ruling. States is now two different countries because of this Supreme Court ruling. That is not me being hyperbolic.
That man is 100% correct. Go back and watch his video, but allow me to explain it to you in crayon eating terms, because I fear some of you still aren't understanding and talking enough about how what happened this week puts us up not only perfectly for another civil war situation, but also authoritarian regime. Oh, and not to mention the other ruling that's going under the rug here that reminds me word for word of what happened in Germany. So before we dive in, as always, make sure you like, repost to get the word out here, and follow along for more updates. Many concerning rulings came in this week, but two of which go hand in hand. The first of which is the judicial branch essentially yielding its power to the executive branch, that would be Donnie, willingly, thus consolidating power into the executive branch, getting us one step closer to authoritarian regime. And the second of which was them defending the fact that Donnie actually can just deport people to random countries that they're not even from, and he chooses specifically, and that does come into play here. But it starts with the first ruling, in which it was around Donnie trying to strip people of their birthright citizenship. But the larger ruling really says the judicial branch, or federal judges, don't have the power to issue nationwide injunctions stopping and checking the executive branch anymore. That's the larger message here. The judicial branch decided to vote upon weakening themselves
themselves and consolidate power into the executive branch, which already feels unconstitutional because what the heck happened to checks and balances here? But if you look at the judicial branch itself, it is very right-leaning, and many of them are extremely unqualified and simply appointed by Donnie himself to do his bidding. So it's no shock that they are destroying democracy for him. And the actual ruling itself says that it moves this to the lower court systems or the states to decide, which is what brings us up to them setting us up for what looks like a civil war. Because do we remember the last time individual states had the ability to tell people about their freedoms or citizenship? You nailed it. Even though it's written in the literal Constitution that if you're born here in the U.S., you are a United States citizen, this is now up for argument. This means that there's the potential for one state to decide you're actually a U.S. citizen, but another state to decide you're not a U.S. citizen. Meaning, hypothetically, someone could live their entire lives in California as a U.S. citizen, but then have a layover in Kansas or something and suddenly get deported, leading into this other ruling that we mentioned earlier, right? To a random country that they're not even from, especially since they were born here in the U.S. too. So that adds a whole nother level of what the heck. So the man in the original video is correct. We are no longer the United States. We very quickly could become divided here. But as far as the second ruling, let's never forget that the main camp wasn't in Germany. They sent the people to a different country of their choosing.
All right.
This ordinary
Shalom. I'd like to start off first and foremost by giving all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rachakadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone who will teach well. Peace, love, and salutations and blessings to those that are doing this work in truth and sincerity. This is your brother Nathan Yala from the GMS Camp Atlanta, coming back at you through the Spirit with another lesson. And I pray and hope this lesson is edifying. And you all heard it. The very first half of the video, you had the woman talking about how she's afraid of women being raped and essayed and ravished. Well, that's all in the scriptures. Okay, that's going to happen to you all, just like this civil war is going to happen. And as a matter of fact, we're going to just start off with that. We're going to go to the 1611 KJV, and we're going to go to 2nd Ezra, the 15th chapter, because this goes into the sedition and people turning against their government because of what they're doing. All right, so I'm going to start at verse 14. It says, "Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh. And one people shall stand to fight against another with swords in their hands, for there shall be sedition among men." Right? Sedition is when they go against their governments and invading one another, and they shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their power shall stand in the course of their action shall stand in their power. This is civil war. This is exactly what she's talking about, and we've been speaking about this thing for a very long time, that there's going to be civil war in America. Civil war is coming back, and now with this new legislation that's just being brought out, right? That separates the states. Okay, so now the states basically become autonomous. They're not unified as far as what their so-called constitution says. Okay, so now one state can, like she said, one state can enforce it and one state cannot enforce it. So you can go to another. It's not a really good time to travel right now. Okay, it's really not for those people that are thinking of traveling abroad. And real soon, it's going to be very difficult to travel from state to state because you're not going to be able to get in or out. All right. And it says, at verse 17, "A man should desire to go into a city and should not be able." Well, this is perfect. Okay. If this immigration thing, this citizenship thing, it blows up and it goes as big, yeah, you're going to have, the states are going to become countries again. Well, a state is, let's just go to Chat GPT. Let's type in, what is a state? It says a clearly defined geographic area with recognized borders. Okay. A permanent population that forms a community, government, an organization or system responsible for lawmaking and administration. Sovereignty, supreme authority within its territories involving the monopoly on legitimate use of force, police and military. So that's basically a state. And let's type in is a state. It says a state is a sovereign political entity with defined territories, a permanent population, a government able to enforce laws, sovereignty, complete control over the internal affairs. Country, often interchangeable with state, meaning a sovereign nation recognized internationally. In a casual use, country also refers to a geographical region, country, but it's geopolitics. But in geopolitics, it equals a sovereign state. 3, a nation. A nation is a culture, group of people with shared identity, language, history, or ethnicity. Nations may or may not have their own sovereign state. So when you think about it, when you go from state to state, each state has its own little culture. That's why when you go to Michigan to New York, the people are different. And when you go from New York to California, the people are different. You see, and the way they do things is different because each state is like a country. Okay, that's why it's called the United States. That's why when you go over to countries like Africa, each one of those they're trying to become the United States of Africa, right? That's what they're trying to become right now. But all of those countries that they're going to give the title state, they're countries right now, right? So country is interchangeable with state. So each one of these countries, each one of these states like Michigan, Georgia, Chicago, California, all of those are countries. Okay. So now with each one of these states / countries are now going to enact their own law. They're not going to have the federal jurisdiction, to say, okay, these are the federal guidelines all across the board. Each state will be capable of making its own decision if whether or not they're going to enforce these laws. This could very well lead to a civil war because you're going to have some people that's going to say, no, this is the United States of America. And you have some people that's going to say, no, this is my state. Okay. And we do things this way here because we don't like what y'all got going on. You see what I'm saying? So when you go back to 2nd Ezra and it says, verse 16, it says, for there shall be sedition among men and invading one another, and they shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. A man shall desire to go into a city and should not be able. That you can basically say that a man should desire to go into another state or country and should not be able to. Okay, because it could get to a point to where the state of Tennessee don't recognize the identification from the state of Georgia anymore. They may say, well, you know what? We don't recognize that. You can't come into the state of Tennessee if you're from Georgia. You see, it could literally boil down to that. All right. So this is a slippery slope leading into civil war. All right. Now, verse 18, it says, for their pride, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled and their houses shall be destroyed and men shall be made afraid. Okay. Continuing on, so men are going to be made afraid from these things that are coming to pass, right? So, what more you women? All right, it says for because verse 19 it says a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of lack of bread and for great tribulation. Okay, so there's going to be really bad out here. There's going to be a civil war. And that leads me to my next point. When these things happen, going back to my first video, society is going to break down, which means that your enforcers, those that enforce the laws, are going to break down. Okay. And that's when y'all women that have been out here thinking that y'all can do whatever the hell y'all want to do, all of this evil that you have been doing for so long, regardless to whether or not, you got a pass from the so-called white man. Okay. Regardless to where society said you can do it. It doesn't matter. All right. This is a dam that has been waiting to burst. And when this thing bursts, all these men that have been put in these positions because of y'all women who've built up this hatred, oh, they're going to be brutal. They're going to be brutal. And if you're not with a man of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai that put his hedge upon that man to ward off these demons and spirits and these niggas, okay? Because there's going to be situations, all right? But the Lord is going to lead his men and those that are attached to them to safety, all right? But y'all women, y'all out here that ain't got no hedge, oh man, you better be concerned. And you know, and this woman, she says it, you know, she says it very eloquently when she talks about
If you ask women and girls what their main fear would be, should the
I'm not trying to
world
like it, I'm
end,
trying to pause it. It says the most women biggest fear about the end of the world or societal collapse is what men will do. And you should be, because underneath, women know the destructive and powerful and how much malice men can have. What keeps men in check right now is other men. Okay? And then once you break down the structure of those other men that are protecting these women, once you break down that structure, you women have no more protection. It goes back to, hey, if you out in the field and you by yourself and a man lay hold of you, that type of deal, right? You know, the doctrine that y'all said was so destructive, that was evil. Remember that doctrine? Yeah, that one for y'all women, right? But this is going to be reality, but it's not going to be done according to the law of the Lord. It's going to be according to the law of wickedness. So you're going to have men out here just grabbing women and little girls. And these white men out here, man, they don't care if you're a little girl or if you're a grown woman. They do not care. All right. They will take you. All right. And you're going to much rather prefer the law of the Lord than of that particular circumstance than what they're going to do. Okay. Because there is certain repercussions that a man, you know, will have to endure if he don't do things the right way. Okay. But y'all women are going to be, oh my gosh. Let's go to the book of Isaiah. Let's go to Isaiah 13 and 15. It says, everyone that is found shall be thrusted through, and everyone that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword. Okay, that's practically this whole entire system that's joined onto Esau Edom, especially y'all women. Y'all women are all in the governmental programs. Y'all are all for what Esau has to offer you all. Y'all all for the liberty that he has given you all in this society. You're all for destroying your man. You're all for all of that. Okay? So you're joined onto this man. Okay? You're joined onto the system. And the Lord said, hey, everyone that is found shall be thrusted through. Every one that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword. Right? And what else? Verse 16, their children shall be dashed to pieces before their eyes. Their houses shall be spoiled. Oh, we just read that in Second Ezra. And their wives ravished. And that includes your daughters. And that includes little boys too. Okay? Because you have these sickos out here that feels a hole is a hole. It don't matter which kind of hole it is. You know, a hole is a hole. All right. So that's what's coming. Okay, that's what's coming. All right. And it's just about here. And you heard them. You heard you saw the articles up there. You seen the legislation that they putting in place, right? They're fundamentally consolidating power to the top, which is going to cause sedition. And then it's going to be a civil war. All right. It is what it is. And guess who's going to be the ones that's going to suffer the most out of all that? Yes, y'all women. Okay. Let's go to Salakia. Let's go to Isaiah, the 32nd chapter. We're going to start at verse 9. It says, Isaiah 32 and 9 says, rise up, ye women that are at ease, Hear my voice, ye careless daughters. Give an ear unto my speech. Many days and years you shall be troubled, ye careless women. For the vintage shall fail, and the gathering shall not come. Tremble, ye women that are at ease. Be troubled, ye careless ones. Strip you and make ye bare, and gird sackcloth upon your loins. Right? Because y'all gonna be worried about being raped. Y'all gonna be worried about men coming to kill y'all and take y'all daughter. Y'all gonna be worried about being sold into prostitution. You gonna be worried about that. Okay? Hey, you know, Elder Malcolm used to say this years ago. He used to say, hey, you wanted to ride the cock carousel? Not a cock carousel about to ride you. All right? And you about to get all that. You know? And there is no avoiding this. This is the buildup that has been happening for so long, and now the dam is about to burst. So much so that you have, you know, a woman making a TikTok in regard to this fear. And you know, women ain't taking it seriously. You say, it says Isaiah 3 talks about what will happen, and these women already know. And you know, it's basically brothers put this up there. You know what I'm saying? And we in Isaiah, let's go to let's go to Isaiah 3. Yeah. Here it is, right here. This is what he's talking about. Isaiah, starting at Isaiah 16. It says, moreover, the word of the Lord said, because the daughters of Zion are haughty and walk with stretched forth necks and wanton eyes, making and mincing. On wanton means the eyes that want every goddamn thing. Okay, walking and mincing as they go, making a tinkling with their feet. Therefore, the Lord will smite the scab, will smite with the scab on the crown of their head. You're going to be bald, and the daughters of Zion, and the Lord will discover their secret parts. That's why y'all walking around with leggings on. You know, that's why y'all walking around with all of these skimpy clothing, because the Lord is turning y'all into whores. You know, as it says, and I believe in Hosea, your wife should be a harlot in the city. And it says, in that day, the Lord will take away the bravery of their tinkling ornaments about their feet, and cause their calves and their and their round tires like the moon. Talking about that thing. And their chains and bracelets and mufflers and the bonnets and the ornaments of their legs and the headbands and the tables and the earrings and the rings and the nose rings and the changeable suits of apparel and the mantles and the wimples and the crisping pans, the glasses and the fine linen and the hoods and the veils. And it shall come to pass that instead of a sweet smell, a stank. That's why y'all be having them rotten boxes. So all these things the Lord is taking away, and you can see that right now. And why do you have those rotten boxes from all them bodies you done caught? Okay, and you're not clean. Some of y'all women wipe from back to front instead of front to back. You know, I know a lot of y'all women ain't very hygienic. I done seen roaches crawling out of women's hair. Okay, y'all wear, and you gotta be. Your mind has to be completely gone to put hair on top of your hair, to put eyelashes on top of your eyelashes. You know, I heard of this, and I'm thinking like, dang, that's right. You know how crazy you got to be to want to put someone else's hair in your hair, to put fake eyelashes on top of your own eyelashes. You got to be gone in the mind to think that that's the way. And then you got these women with these lace fronts, right? And you can clearly see the lace front. This shit looks stupid. You can clearly see it. And it's like, you don't see that? You don't see how stupid you look. So then they put a little headband over the lace front, right? So that they can hide it. But bro, we know that shit is fake. You're wearing a hair hat. I mean, it's ridiculous. You know? And it says, and instead of well set hair baldness, right? So you're gonna be bald. Instead of a stomacher, a grinding of sackcloth, instead of and burning instead of beauty. So you're gonna be fat. Okay? And how many of these black women are just overweight and fat? Just blobbing, you know? And they don't even know what a gym is. And then when they do go to the gym, you want to go back up to this scripture where it talks about how and the Lord will discover their secret parts. They're all dressed like hoes. All of them. It has gotten to a point to where men are tired of seeing it. Like I see videos on social media where men don't even want to go to the gym no more because every single woman that go there got to dress like a hoe. You got to wear ass cheek splitters in order to go to the damn gym to work out. You got to have your ass torn apart so men can look at you. You got to have the shortest halter top on. Then you got a face full of makeup and you at the gym. Okay? This is the nature of these women out here. Okay? Right? So, hey, now it's going to come to pass, hey, hey, the cock carousel is going to ride you. That's what's about to happen. Don't be afraid now. You know, y'all have partooken and had y'all been at ease for a very long time. Y'all ain't had to serve y'all man. Y'all could do whatever the hell y'all wanted to do. And now those the chickens are coming home to roost. I think that's the term. Okay, that's what's about to happen. All that stuff is about to come back on you full force. All right. And guess what? The men are destroyed. The men don't want you no more. They don't look at, especially the Judite woman, they don't look at you as a tender and delicate woman. They look at you as a brute beast. Like this damn woman, she has to be put down. That's how men are looking at you. Okay? And that's how the scriptures are looking at you too. Oh, all right, here it is right here. This is Micah 7 and 10. And it says, then she that is my enemy shall see it. Okay? Then she that is my enemy shall see it. What is she going to see? She's going to see all of the devastation and all of the evil that she's done is going to come back on her. And she's going to see that the Lord is actually looking out for his men. Okay? And shame shall cover her. Was said unto me, where's the Lord that power? You're finally going to realize it. It's finally the Lord is going to put the spirit on you. Because right now the spirit is not on you to realize the evil that you have done. Okay? Scriptures say the way of an adulterous woman, she wipeth her mouth and saith, I've done no evil. All right? So then you're going to finally see it. You're finally going to wake up and say, wow, I realize all the stuff that I've done. Right? Then my eyes shall behold her, and now she should be trodden down as a mire in the streets. Hence, you're going to be ravished. You're going to be raped. Okay? You're going to be killed. You're going to be beaten. Your daughters and your children are going to be raped in front of you. Y'all single mothers. Y'all going to have it coming. All these things, okay, are going to happen to y'all women, unfortunately. So when that civil war starts to go down and governments start to break down and that sedition starts to happen, okay, you will very well know that all of these other things will follow. The rape, rob, and pillaging of women, okay? And the only women that are going to be exempt of that are those women that are connected to those men, the men of the Lord, right? And that goes back to what? Isaiah 4 and 1. I'll just get that and we'll close on that. All right? Because this is going to lead to Isaiah 4 and 1. Isaiah 4 and 1, it says, and in that day, 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, we will eat our own bread. We will wear our own apparel. Just let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach. Because you're going to have women that they're going to go out and get their own thing. They're going to provide for themselves. But are they going to call you Lord? Yes. Are they going to have fear for you? Yes. Why? Because the alternative is being raped and ravished by these men out here. They're going to see that, hey, as long as I'm with him, I'm good. All right. And guess what? You're gonna have, like, I was watching Elder Kazak's video, and he was like, you're gonna have your pick of the litter, and you're right. And if you don't want to jump on board, you don't have to. You can have the other option. Okay? You can have the other option. If you don't want to deal, you don't have to deal. And guess what? Men are not going to deal with you not dealing. Men aren't going to be like, oh, well, she's not dealing, so I'm going to try to. No, it ain't going to be like, oh, I'm a simp to her. No, it's going to be like, oh, you don't want to deal? Okay, go out there and deal. Let's see how far you get with that. And it ain't going to be no take backsies. It ain't going to be no, oh, I changed my mind. No, it's not going to be none of that. All right? It's going to be like, hey, this is what it is. This is what you chose. So have fun with it. Okay? All right. But then you're going to have those women, which is going to be a lot. They're all going to cling to the men of the Lord. Yeah. And all that hatred that you have for other women, all that shit going to go away, because the fear of the alternative is going to stop you from that. Okay. To know that all your man is going to say is, you go ahead and get the hell on. Right. And you're going to be left by yourself. And let's see if whether or not you decide if you don't want to jump on board, because that's what's about to happen. That's why that lady made that video, because you can see that shit. You can see it coming. You can see it coming. This is about to happen. Her whole thing is that women wonder about what's going to happen when society breaks down and the other gender looks toward them and say, you know what? I can get away with taking that thing now. All right. I can get away with it. Hell, a lot of men get away with it right now. Okay, so how much more when all this stuff really go down? And I say y'all deserve it. Y'all have been so destructive. You literally the woman has single-handedly destroyed the so-called black family. Okay, and we're not black. Just so you know, that's why I said so-called. All right. So with that, I'm gonna end it by giving all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shai Ba'Shem Rachel Kadash. Double honor to the elders and the apostle, great millstone. To the next time, Mike, I say shalom.